Alright, what is up guys? I'm back from another Zoids review, and this time I'm going to be doing a brand new type of Zoids product that I've never reviewed before, and a line of kits I'm actually very unfamiliar with this one exception, and that is the Revoltech articulated Zoids. And there was only a few of these ever released, and of course they were released under a very different product line than all the other ones. So I've reviewed the Takara Tomy model kits, the Hasbro model kits, the Kotobukiya high-end master bottles, and the Modeler Spirit series, but I've not reviewed one of these. This is the only one that I own, and my friend Coulter hooked me up with this. He sold it to me, and I picked it up from him at Anime Week in Atlanta, where I also picked up the Death Soarer and some of the other kits as well, which I'll be showing off pretty soon. And I'm pretty happy with this, guy. So first of all, of course, this is the Blade Liger Mirage, as you can tell by the color scheme, and you guys also know from some of my previous videos that the Blade Liger is my all-time favorite Zoid. I'm also hugely fond of the Blade Liger Mirage and this color scheme. It's actually the inverted color scheme of the red Blade Liger from New Century Zero, the one that Leon had, where instead of it being red with white accents, it's white with red accents, and I think that's pretty cool. So I want to take a look at the box really quick before we get into this, guy. So this is a absolutely massive box for such a small kit. It's very tall. It's also very thin, though, unlike a lot of the other Zoids boxes, and the kit just kind of sits in the center there. You can see the entire thing. The tail is separate. Some of the legs are separate. So there's some assembly required, but not a whole lot. It's not essentially a model kit as much as it is an articulated figure, but that's sort of par for the course with Revoltech. And it kind of shows you just the extent of the articulation here on the back, and it shows you, of course, the blue Blade Liger as the stock image there. And it shows it fighting with the Geno Breaker as well. So that's pretty impressive. So Revoltech is known for making a lot of mecha style toys, and they make a lot of really cool ones too. I think there's some Revoltech Transformers they make. I think they also made some figures for Tiger and Bunny. They make a lot of Macross and other mecha series and that kind of thing. I don't think they make anything for like Gundam and all that, but they are pretty cool. And so essentially what we have is a kit that is part plastic and part die-cast metal, and it's actually got a fair bit of weight to it for how small it is, and it just has an absolutely absurd amount of articulation. The other kits in this series that were done, I think there was a Geno Breaker. I think there was also a Liger Zero and Berserk Fury, if I'm not mistaken. There wasn't a whole lot of these. I'm actually not familiar enough with this line to be able to tell you exactly how many of these were made, but they all have some very similar design sensibilities. So they're very small, as you can see. They are not lacking in detail. I mean, they have detail. If you look at the legs, you can certainly see there's a lot of molded in detail there, even on the underside. All the detail that's there on the Takara Tomy ones is still here on this kit, but the proportions are a little bit different to allow maximum mobility and articulation, and then the cockpits are opaque because they don't open and close, but that kind of gives it sort of an anime look to it, which we don't really have in any of the other model kits. So I'm going to set this guy down and kind of show off the extent of its articulation here, as you can see from the box. So there's a lot of ball joints at play here, and it makes this guy actually a little bit more difficult to pose if you don't have a lot of experience with it. Not to mention it's a quadrupedal figure, which is difficult to pose anyway. But the neck itself is on a hinge that moves up and down, and as you can see, you can hear that kind of snapping on a ratchet there. And then the head itself is also on a ball joint, so you can kind of get that in a lot of different, not like a huge amount of range there. The vents for the shield, they're articulated so they can fan out just like with the Takara Tomy and the Kotobukiya one. Mouth opens and closes as you'd expect. As far as the legs, you do have to be gentle with these things too, because they are extremely sensitive. The shoulders are on ratchet joints, I believe, and you can actually kind of swing out the hinge of the shoulder up and out like that, so you can get like some dynamic poses as far as like how you want them to stand. Let's do that with the back legs too, so you can really get them kind of spread out and get some really cool dynamic poses there. Maybe we can bend that elbow down a little bit more and get a lower stance, get those blades perked up like that. Yeah, that's pretty freaking cool. I know the camera angle is not super complimentary to that because it's so high up, but that's what I get for this thing being so small. If I get the camera totally level with it, you guys will be able to see what I'm talking about. And of course, right here where the side panels come out for the blades to deploy, this is also on a ball joint. So instead of it just going in and out like that, like on the Hasbro and Takara Tomy version, you can actually put it, omnidirectionally in any direction you want. And of course, that makes room for the blade to come down. The blade is on the same kind of hinge that it's on the Takara Tomy one, but that hinge also rotates on itself as well, so you get even more motion there. So when it drops in all the way, of course, you have the same kind of blade action as you would with the original one. Of course, just like on the original one, you have the panel for the boosters that comes up like this, but this is also on a ball joint, so it goes literally in any direction. The boosters, surprisingly enough, unlike on the Takara Tomy one where they're on like a lever system where they go up and out like that to raise up, this is actually just on a hinge and a ball joint. So they raise up like that, which essentially gives you the same effect as what we saw with the other kit, but it just happens a little bit differently. So I think that is awesome. So I'm gonna bring this guy up to the camera so you can see kind of the pose I've got here. But yeah, that really does create some incredibly dynamic poses and that kind of thing. You can also do some cute stuff with it too, like there's the pose with it kind of doing a dog or a cat like scratching its ear kind of thing, which is pretty cool. And then of course you get some dynamic fight poses there, but you really do have to be gentle with these things and ensure that their joints stay tight. And I think it also comes with some kind of tool inside the box that I think is meant for moving the joints. This tool right here, I'm really not sure what that's for because I don't have as much experience with these Revoltech kits. Would I recommend this kit? Not really for the money. These are very rare and hard to find, and I don't think you get as much value for them as you do with the model kits, because the model kits are fun to build, they're fun to customize, and I feel like they're just easier to display. There's fewer things that can go wrong with them, whereas with these, you have all these joints, and it's one of those things where if you add too much articulation to a figure, it kind of collapses under its own weight because there's so many moving parts that it just starts to move in every single direction and just loses its balance. And we get that a little bit with certain Gunpla and certainly certain of the Kotobukiya high-end master models. As I mentioned before, the tail is also on several ball joints, so right here where it connects to the beast, and then back here, and at the very end. So you can get all kinds of weird tail poses. That's when I kind of have the tail curled up like that so it takes up less space. And so I think we'll go ahead and do a size comparison. Let me get it kind of standing up straight again. So we'll kind of angle that down, and we'll kind of bring in the shoulders. I'll kind of rotate the shoulders down so it's standing up more stout and straight. Some people just have a hard time with figures like this because they just kind of tend to manhandle things. I'm usually pretty good about figures that are gentle like this and not overhandling them or being too aggressive with the joints. And certainly if I wasn't already, I would have learned that lesson with the HMM Blade Liger, because holy crap, if you guys haven't seen that review, go check it out, because you guys know how touchy that thing is and how volatile it is. So we'll move the box out of the way, slide that guy back, and do a little size comparison just to show you guys how small these things are. If you didn't watch the Death Soul review I did before, or the Wild Liger review, you'd see a size comparison there. But now that we've seen the scale of this thing on screen for so long, we'll put it in perspective and put it next to the Hasbro Blade Liger. So that should tell you right there just how drastic the size difference is. And I don't think these guys are necessarily 1 in 1/44 scale. They might be. It's never specified anywhere on the box, but I'm willing to bet that, yeah, it's 1 in 1/44 scale, which would be putting it on the same scale, essentially, as the Mahler Spirit Series Zoids. So I love my my Hasbro Blade Liger, by the way. It's in perfect mint condition. I still just can't get over how lucky I am to finally have this thing, but it's like borderline orange. This red is so bright, but you can't really have a middle ground there because the HMM Red Blade Liger is a very dark red, so it's kind of a compromise there. And these two are going to look so strange side by side with each other when I finally build the HMM Red Blade Liger. So yeah, that's about that. I didn't really talk about the twin barrel shock cannon under there either, which is also weirdly articulated and decided to hide itself under the chin. It's got to be, there we go. That's on a ball joint. Got to point down at least. So yeah, do I recommend this guy? Kind of. I think it's really cool, and of course I love that this is probably the closest I will ever get to a Blade Liger Mirage, because the Blade Liger Mirage was never released as a motorized kit as far as I know for Takara Tomy, but it was released as a high-end master model, but it was one of the first Kotobukiya HMMs, and so it's incredibly rare and stupid expensive. It's one of the most sought-after ones out there on the market, I believe, for HMMs. And so, for older HMMs at least, so I basically have no chance of getting that. So I do appreciate that I have the Blade Liger Mirage in some form with this Revoltech one, and I don't really plan on getting any of the other Revoltech ones, but I'm glad that I have it, and I'm glad I was able to do a review on yet another Zoids product that you guys may not be able to easily get your hands on. You can kind of decide if you want to pursue that route to go find it. I really do love the paint on this guy though. I don't know if you can see it or if the lighting has got it too washed out, but the white on here, really the details shine through pretty well, and it's very metallic. It's not this cheap molded in white. It's it's almost like got a pewter pearl metallic to it, and you can kind of see that there on the shoulders a little bit. And the blades and the feet are a nice metallic color, which I just love that. I've talked about that on some other Zoids, how I wish that the paint was better or that they were molded in plastic a little bit better, because like I compared the Hasbro Blade Liger right here to the Takara Tomy one, where the Takara Tomy has die cast feet and fangs and how this one has plastic, and that's something that they make up for with this one. So it's a give and take. It's whatever you personally prefer, and personally I do like this kit quite a bit, but I'm not a huge fan of this style when it comes to Zoids. I much prefer the model kits. So hopefully this review is helpful. I think the only other style of Zoid I haven't reviewed is like a D-style Zoid, and I doubt I'll ever get any of those, but that would be pretty cool if I did. There's also the action figure style that was only a Hasbro thing because, of course, they had to reach the American kid demographic, and my brother has some of those, and maybe I'll review some of those at some point if I can borrow his, just to show them off and put them on camera, just in case you guys were curious about what the Zoids action figures were like from the Hasbro line. They're a lot more simple than the model kits, but they're about the same scale as this. They actually probably scale very nicely compared to that, so maybe I'll do a review of those one day. Alright guys, I appreciate you guys watching very much. Make sure to subscribe for more Zoids related content, and I will see you guys next time.